Every day I was in the gym because I missed so much time. And I knew if I wanted to be the player that I know I could be, then I have to be in that gym day in, day out.
Born March 18th, 1994. Today's feature is a guard I'm left shocked didn't pan out in the NBA. Between he, Dennis Smith Jr., and Emmanuel Mudiay, looking at the players they were in high school, college, and in Mudiay's case, China, it baffled me that these guards, with play styles seemingly perfect for the open space, ball-dominant player ran, heavy hand check rule NBA, picked high in the draft, all turn out to be complete busts in the league. Kris Dunn specifically had just a little more than those guys as well, as he was equally as good on the defensive end as he made highlights on offense. At Providence, he was the only guard to win Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year twice, and it couldn't have came at a better time. The 2 seasons right before the draft that sent his stock skyrocketing, landing at the 5th pick in 2016 ahead of Buddy Hield, Jamal Murray, Malik Beasley, Caris LeVert, and Malcolm Brogdon, all players if redrafted would go before him, as well as the 3 All-Stars from that class in Domantas Sabonis, DeJounte Murray, and Pascal Siakam, who also made an All-NBA team in 2020. I get that the draft process can be a shot in the dark, even if you've done extensive homework on a player, and the player had a great season or seasons in college. Sometimes said players just aren't chosen to become what they were as amateurs. Kris Dunn had good size for the point guard position, was a solid shooter in college, and also played rare defense for a guy as gifted as he was scoring the ball. Dunn was one of those throwback type of point guards you can tell was inspired by point guards of the early 2000s and even late 2000s, early 2010s. When he was prepping for the draft, John Wall was always a name that came up comparing the two, and I understood why they would say that. Off the dribble, he was quick and also fast, very shifty when pressured, could shoot the pull-up, floater, and 3-ball adequate enough to be considered a lottery pick. I don't think there was any pushback on that pick until the Timberwolves wound up with him, and subconsciously you knew this could be a great fit with opportunity to be himself, or this could be another flop point guard overhyped by YouTube highlights and workout videos that put up cool stats in college but can't find himself in the NBA. What Marcus Smart is, Dunn had that ceiling to maybe one day grow into, but a lot out of his control has happened, and in just 6 seasons and 18 games total in his last 2 years, he looks to be out of the league for good. What happened to Kris Dunn? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. You can also send a super thanks by clicking the button below. Enjoy the video. Kris Dunn is a 6'3" point guard from New London, Connecticut that starred for New London High School. He had an outstanding career, leading his team at 26.5 points, 10 rebounds, 5 steals, and 5 assists per game as a junior, and won a state championship. By his senior year, Dunn was rated top 25 in the nation and number 1 in Connecticut. He was first team Parade All-American and a McDonald's All-American selection as well. In August 2011, he announced he would attend nearby Providence College, who were excited to have a McDonald's All-American, and about him joining Bryce Cotton, creating one of the top backcourts in the conference. But as soon as he got to campus in the fall, stunt number 1, injury prone. Of all the players I've covered, I honestly don't think I've seen one quite like Kris Dunn as far as blowing opportunity because he couldn't stay on the floor. As soon as he got to Providence, he had to have surgery to fix a torn labrum he suffered during the summer, causing his Friar debut to be pushed back to late December. He played 25 games, averaged 5.7 points, shot 28% from 3, and the team failed to make the tournament. 4 games into his sophomore year, guess what? He injures his shoulder again, this time having to be shut down the entire season. 2 surgeries in 3 years on the same shoulder. He averaged under 4 points between year 1 and year 2. If there were any time his basketball future was being doubted, that was the time. In order to even be considered by the NBA, Dunn would have to have the greatest college comeback in school history and more, and that's exactly what he did. After being granted a medical redshirt for his sophomore year, his would-have-been junior year was spectacular. He showed he was the high-level point guard college basketball needed and that he could get to wherever he wanted off the dribble or pull up and shoot right over you. He started all 33 games and averaged 15 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 2.7 steals a game. He'd be named the Big East Conference Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year that season and his next, where he was even more outstanding. In hindsight, those must have been some of the best years of his life. He was fully healthy and able to show out completely and get scouts back in his favor. He was taken 5th by Minnesota in the NBA draft, a team who couldn't seem to find a point guard to save their lives. The team that drafted Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio back-to-back over the greatest shooter of all time. He had a concussion during Summer League and had to be shut down after just 2 games. The number 5 pick was then traded after just 1 season and brought his injury baggage along with him. He dislocated a finger in preseason and had to miss the first 4 games. 2018-19 sprained left MCL, causing him to miss 7 weeks. He missed all but 4 games 2021 due to more leg issues. He couldn't catch a break as a player unless it was a bone or trainer tossing him a Kit Kat.
Not funny!
Stunt number 2, opportunity. Secondly, I think Kris learned, and future hoopers can learn as well, that the NBA doesn't wait for too many people. A huge reason Providence was able to have success with him was because they were patient with their All-American and allowed him to heal for almost 2 years before they could see him in full on the floor and to be healthy again, most importantly. The NBA, not so much. There's literally 1 billion kids playing the sport, and every year, for the most part, there's a Kris Dunn somewhere in the draft. Because he was so injured so often, and because of reasons he could control, like becoming a better shooter from deep and taking better care of the basketball, he didn't get the best opportunity as yet to show what he can do. He was always on a team where they weren't in desperate need to wait for a point guard to feel good again physically and quickly moved on. He played his most significant basketball with the Chicago Bulls from 2017 to 2019, where in those 2 years, he averaged 13 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals year 1, and just about the same numbers, just a better deep shooter year 2. Dunn seemed to have found a home. Then he leaves Chicago and signs with the Hawks and only played 4 games for them, needing season-ending surgery to remove loose cartilage in his right ankle, causing knee and back issues. Stunt number 3, train, pass by. I would say leaving the Bulls, where he had most his success, was a growth stunt, but even more than that was that time just passed him by and the league just focused on other young talent. He came into the league and missed his potential window because of health issues. Now here comes the younger, more spry versions of him that doesn't present such a challenge just to see them play basketball. He was traded from the Hawks to the Celtics, who swung him to Memphis, then waived soon after. He spent a stint in the G League from there and a 10-day with Portland that led to him signing for the rest of the 2022 season. But time has left a while ago, and at some point, that's what happens with players as injury-prone as Kris Dunn. All in all, I really think Dunn could be a great asset to a contender at this point. Had injuries never happened, he would have been a better version of Lou Williams or even an all-star with defensive capabilities to match. He was a great player in college, but injuries led to lack of opportunity, leading to the train to longevity and stardom passing him by. Salute, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.